Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Rachel and this is Constellation Library. As you can see, I'm wearing the same outfit I wore in my last video. Thank you, bulk filming. So today we are going to be doing the first Christmas book tag of the season. It is called the Christmas Carol book tag. I did the end of the year book tag, and prior to that, I had not done one since I was on YouTube before. And I really think that they're fun to do. I know that sometimes people can do too many of them and you're like, oh my gosh, do something else. But I am excited. So I hope you guys are excited, and I hope that maybe you'll see this and you'll want to do the tag yourself. I will be tagging people at the end. I may tag some people based on their channel. I may tag some people that are from Instagram who may write it up instead of filming a video. So, I'm going to try to put some tags in there as well to, make it actually be a tag and not just me doing a thing and then not passing it on. So I have written down my info in this handy dandy little notebook, and I will be reading from it as I tell you about the books that I chose for each of the prompts. So without further ado, A Christmas Carol book tag. Number 1, The Ghost of Christmas Past. Name a book that was a childhood favorite. So I don't know if anyone else has ever read this book, but I read this book, I had to have maybe been in like 5th or 6th grade. I want to say it was whatever year they take us over and walk us to the library and get us our own library card and let us pick something out, which I think is either late elementary school, early middle school. I want to say it was probably early middle school because our middle school was right next to the library, but I digress. Anyway, the very first book I think I ever checked out of the library was Gary Paulsen's The TransAll Saga. And I don't even know, honestly, how to describe this book anymore because it has been a very long time since I read it. And this isn't even like the version that I read. I ended up buying this one later. But I'll just read the back of it to you. And this is what made me pick it up when I was a kid because it sounded so interesting to me. But it says, Mark's solo camping trip in the desert turns into a terrifying and thrilling odyssey when a mysterious beam of light transports him to another time on what appears to be another planet. As Mark searches for a pathway back to his own time on Earth, he must make a new life in a new world. His encounters with primitive tribes bring the joy of human bonds, but violence and war as well. And finally, a contest in which he discovers his own startling powers. So this was essentially a portal fantasy about a young boy. I remember him going out into the desert by himself, like hiking by himself, which was just wild to me at the time. Like, I can't really suspend disbelief anymore about that because he was literally out in the desert alone at night. And he ends up getting like transported up through this like blue beam of light to this other world, and the other world is red, which is why the color of this book, like everything is in shades of red, and it feels like a different time. It's very primitive. There's creatures he doesn't recognize, and it's just what he does while he's there, who he meets, and the dangers that he encounters. And I flew through this book. I want to say I read it one night after I got it, and I absolutely love it, and it always gives me like all of the good feels, and I highly recommend it. If you like that kind of thing, definitely check it out. But definitely one from my childhood that I will read again and again. All right, prompt number 2. I'm going to be a little bit quieter because my baby woke up and cried a lot. So sorry about that. But prompt number 2 is The Ghost of Christmas Present, which is a recent book that you think will become one of your all-time favorites. I actually have 2 for this. So the 2 that I chose for this are both chunky, but they're both things that I have read within the last 2 months, I think. The first one is Empire the Vampire by J. Kristoff, and this cover is actually from the librarian box, and I believe you can still get them if you're interested in having it, but it is beautiful. But this book, and then The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, these are 2 books that I have found that I really, really, really love, and I read recently, and I'll recommend them until I die probably. Like, they are wonderful, and I know that they're going to be in like my top books that I've ever read. I really don't know how you could top them. So I can't say enough good things about them. If you've been on BookTube at all in the last couple of months, you probably would have heard of both of them. This one is really gaining a lot of traction among booktubers. A lot of booktubers, I think, are I wouldn't say growing out of young adult fantasy, but they are more interested in sinking their teeth into some more adult epic fantasies. So a lot of booktubers have been reading this one in particular and loving it. And again, I have said this a couple times, but I am not going to attempt to describe the premise of this book because it is just way too deep. It's over 1,000 pages. Just suffice it to say, there are 4, 5-ish main characters that are going to converge together that we're learning about, and there are all manner of political intrigue, assassinations. There's very interesting magic systems. The world building is amazing. It's like nothing I've ever read before, and I very thoroughly enjoy it. It has one of my favorite characters of all time, Dalinar Kholin. So this one is just fantastic, and it's making my arm tired. So I'm going to set it down. And Empire of the Vampires by Jay Kristoff. I love Jay Kristoff's work. I have enjoyed everything that I've read from him up to this point. I would say that this is right up there with Nevernight, which is one of my favorite series of all time. And I think this has probably surpassed it, honestly. I love vampires. I've always loved vampires. And I feel like he just does a really great job with vampires in this. And I've read a lot of vampire novels, and I feel like he takes the type of vampires that we know but adds to the myths and makes them more interesting, which is great because like they're already pretty interesting in my opinion. So very good. The main character is Gabriel de Leon. He is the last Silver Saint, and a Silver Saint is essentially a holy warrior that is tasked with trying to fight back against the vampire scourge that has taken over. And Day's death was an event that occurred that made it so that there was no more normal daylight anymore, and vampires could walk around during the day and basically subjugate all the humans. And so the Silver Saints are trying to fight back against that subjugation, and it is essentially told via interview, very similar to Name of the Wind or Interview with a Vampire, and it is just so good. So good. Very enjoyable. Highly recommend. It's on this list as one of my favorites for a reason. So the third prompt, The Ghost of Christmas Yet to Come, a book coming out next year that you're most excited about. So if I can remember, I'll try to stick the picture up on either side here, but it's called Gallant, and it's by V.E. Schwab. And I believe that it is more of like a middle grade young adult book, but she's sticking with the V.E. Schwab name instead of Victoria Schwab. So when it comes out, I believe it's going to be under V.E. And I really don't know a lot about it other than it's like a portal quest type of fantasy, which is my favorite type. That's why I love the TransAll Saga. That's why the book that I have been working on for years at this point is a portal quest. I absolutely adore portal quest fantasies. And it just sounds really good. I think it takes place in the South, and I just feel like it's going to be extra atmospheric, and I'm so excited. So excited. I think there's like a wall that the main character is somehow able to travel through this portal in the wall and to another version of the area where she lives, and it's like fantastical. He or she, again, I'm not really sure all the fine details, but it just sounds really interesting, and I'm super excited for it. So let me turn the page here. Don't mind all the crinkliness, a little ASMR for you. So number 4 is Bah Humbug, a book everyone else loves but you can't stand. So this is going to be an unpopular opinion on the old booktube, as I have seen, because I tried to find anyone who felt the same way I did about this book, and I have not had great luck. And I honestly wonder what is wrong with me. Like, what about this was difficult for me to understand? Was there like some je ne sais quoi that I just was not grasping? And that is Piranesi, one side or the other here. I've unhauled it. I had it, I read it physically, but I unhauled it because I just really hated everything about it. And I could see that the author was trying to go for something really deep and profound and thought-provoking, but like it just was not that for me. The writing was really weird from the beginning. The main character is clearly going through something and is writing things, and I was an English teacher first, so there are certain things that people do with the English language that I can't get into the story because I'm too busy seeing this weird way that you wrote the story. And that's kind of was my initial issue with the book, is that everything was a proper noun, everything was capitalized. To him, Piranesi, as I got through the story, it made more sense why he did this, but from the off, I had a hard time keeping up with the story because it did that from the beginning. And I'm like, that's not something that should be capitalized. Neither was that. It was just annoying. And it was very choppy, repetitive, simple writing. Again, it makes sense, but it was just not to my taste. And the overall plot was just nothing special to me. Like, it really wasn't anything special to me. And it was honestly had a little bit of that portal aspect that I like. And I just didn't jive with it. I didn't like it. I didn't think that it was profound in any way. I didn't feel like it was something that was so weird it was good. I just thought it was weird. But there are people here who will ride or die for Susanna Clarke and Piranesi, and I am just not one of them. I couldn't stand it. Bah humbug for sure. Like, so please let me know if you had an issue with Piranesi. Please leave a comment for me, because like I periodically, when the book comes up, I go to Goodreads and read the 1-star reviews and try to like feel like I'm not a crazy person. And thankfully there are more of them now than there were initially. So now I don't feel so crazy, but yeah, I need somebody else to validate my feelings there, because I had a hard time. That book is not very long, and it took me probably at least a month to get through it because I just did not care. It was painful. Anyway, number 5 is Bob Cratchit, an old dependable that you always recommend. So for this, I chose Nevermoor, The Trials of Morrigan Crow. This series has become far and above my favorite middle grade series of all time. It has surpassed Harry Potter because I feel like the world is so amazing. I feel like the characters are all so unique and interesting and fun and wonderful. The atmosphere is great. The villain is not just a black and white cookie cutter villain. He is deep and has complex issues, and I love the villain. Ezra Squall is the villain in this series, and I love him. There are 3 books so far. I do believe that it will be getting more books. I want to say that the 4th one should be coming out sometime in 2022, and I'm hyped. I'm ready. I'll be rereading the series before we get to that book because, y'all, fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. And it's just one of those, like, if I really want something fun that feels like a warm hug, that this is the series. I have the other 2 right here. They're just wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. The audiobooks, fantastic. If you love audiobooks, these are some of the best that I've ever listened to. There's really no bad way to read this book, whether audibly or with your eyeballs. There's no bad way to do it. So that was number 5. So number 6 is Tiny Tim, an underhyped book that you think deserves more love. And so for that one, I have House of Hollow by Crystal Sutherland. I read this book August or September. It was our book club book, in-person book club book. And the cover was one that just like grabbed my attention when I saw it. I knew that I needed to read it, and I put it in for the book club vote, and it's the one that ended up getting voted on. And I just feel like this one is really, really well done. It's a standalone. There's a little bit of openness at the end that means that maybe the author could come back to it if she wants to, but really I think it should stay a standalone. But it was creepy. It was extremely atmospheric. I didn't know what was going to happen. I had no idea how it was going to progress. And maybe that's just me. I'm not the type that really looks for that sort of thing. Like, I'm not trying to guess the end. I'm just like along for the ride. But it didn't feel like obvious to me what was going to happen. And just genuinely, I feel like it was really creepy. It had body horror in it. It was a fantasy horror, so obviously, but like some really gross stuff, honestly. And it's a young adult, so I definitely recommend it. I enjoyed it immensely, and I just feel like I don't hear enough people talking about it. And maybe I missed that little span of time. Maybe people were talking about it before I fully came back to BookTube and Instagram, but if you haven't read this one, definitely give it a try. It's not very long. It's very easy to get through. I want to say it's maybe like, it's not even 300 pages. It's very fun. Definitely recommend it. Number 7. Today, why it's Christmas Day. What's a book that always gets you in the mood for Christmas? So I really racked my brain for a book series that does better than this one at getting me in the mood for Christmas, because I really just don't like to give too much publicity to this particular author. And I'm looking around again to see if I can think of anything better. And I really just can't from what I have personally read. I'm sure that there are other books that would get me in the mood, but I gotta be honest that I don't really have any others. And that is the Harry Potter series. We do not talk about She Who Must Not Be Named in this house. I don't really like to promote any of the author's work on my channel at all, but for the sake of this, it's true. We're right in the throes of rewatching the movies right now. This is the time of year that I'll almost always do a reread. I'm not doing it this year because we're watching the movies and I have other things I want to read, but one or the other I will always do around Christmas time, because I feel like the movies did a really good job of capturing the way that the holidays were described in the books, and she does a really great job of just getting that holiday atmosphere in her work. Unfortunately, I wish I could say somebody else had done better, but if I think of Christmas and something to read, it's almost always this book. I've read this initial book like 40 plus times since I was like 10 years old. I love it, which makes my relationship really difficult to keep with it given everything that has happened, but it still is, when I think of a Christmas book, a book that I want to read to get in the mood for the holidays, it's this series. So prompt number 8, The Muppet Christmas Carol. So your favorite film adaptation of a book. So I decided to do for Christmas and for just any other book, and Muppet Christmas Carol really is my favorite adaptation of a Christmas Carol or any Christmas story. If you have not watched A Muppet's Christmas Carol, please do yourself a favor and do it. It is so cute, funny, just great. So it has Michael Caine in it, who is amazing. He plays Ebenezer Scrooge, and it has all your favorite Muppets, and it's just great. It's wonderful, and I love that they put that in for this. Clearly, whoever made this loves this version of A Christmas Carol as well. Please, 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 if you do nothing else I ever asked you to do, please watch this version of this movie. It is so cute, so funny, so good. If I'm talking about literally any other book, I would have to say, and this might be weird to some people, I don't know if anyone else would say the same, but I really love the movie version of Bram Stoker's Dracula. So I love this novel. I've read it several times. I love the letter aspect of it that's the story is told in, and I just think that it is like a really good classic. People expect it to be scary, and it's more just like suspenseful and mentally kind of screwed up. But it's just really good. There aren't any jump scares. There's nothing like horrific. It's just that intense feeling of tension the whole time. And the movie's honestly kind of similar. There are some like really creepy moments in the movie, but I love it. It has Gary Oldman as Dracula, Winona Ryder, Anthony Hopkins, and Keanu Reeves. Like, that cast. Come on now. If you've not seen this version, please do. Boob hair. Dracula's boob hair. Anybody know? Just great. Truly great. So if I'm talking about anything other than Christmas movies, I definitely love this version of Dracula. So that is it. In terms of tagging people, I'm going to tag Emma from Emma's Bookshelves. And let's see, who else can I tag that might actually do it? So I'm definitely going to tag Emma from Emma's Bookshelves. I'm also going to tag Lexi from Alexandra Roseland. I don't know if she's ever done this one, but I'm going to ask her to do it. And then I'm also going to tag Jade from Jade Juniper. I know she's mostly doing Japanese videos because she just moved to Japan, but if she happens to do any non-Japan content and wants to talk about books at all, hopefully she will do the Christmas Carol book tag. In addition to that, I'm also going to tag a few people on my Instagram, so I will link their Instagram handles down below. And hopefully if they are not posting a video on YouTube, they will maybe put something up on their Instagram page for this. So yeah, I'll also put the questions and the prompts down in the description box if you would like to do it yourself. If you're not somebody I tagged, but if you think it's a cool Christmas inspired book tag, please by all means go get those questions, fill them out, do whatever, and film it, and then tag me, let me know, give me a comment so that I can come watch your video. So alrighty, well that's that. Thank you guys so much. Happy December. We're not too far away from Christmas, not too far away from the new year. I hope you have a wonderful holiday if you celebrate. Otherwise, have a great week, and I will see you next time. Bye.